Welcome back, everybody. It's now time for our second match in this doubleheader. The stakes, though, well, they're staying the same. It's going to be TSS taking on MBBC, as two teams currently sitting at that 3-3 record are looking to get that next win and advance themselves into the playoffs. Aaron Rhaegar is joining me. He has been to the playoffs before. In fact, he's even won his state. Granted, it was that small, less important state of South Australia. However, finding victory there probably felt just as sweet.
So, want to correct you on something. It was SA Northern Territory. So I won 2 states.
Northern Territories are territories, mate, not a state.
It counts.
But no, absolutely, we are going to be keen going into this one for sure. Similar situations to our last game, where we are going to be seeing a wide mix of ranks from each of these teams, which could lead to sort of maybe more disjointed style. What we look for primarily more so than anything else is that ability to play as a team, as at the end of the day, that's almost what came through in our first game. We are going, though, straight into these picks and bets as we do move into this one. Pardon me. Don't know where that came from. Either way, into the draft we go. And what sort of picks and bans do we want to see in our second match?
So I'd like to see maybe potentially a Darius ban. Just after last game and knowing if your opponent plays it or not, taking that away and getting away the lane bully would be super helpful.
Yeah, I think we should see that. I like seeing the Darius ban, as if, you know, people may have been watching our previous game. Granted, for the most part, a lot of jungle focus, trying to shut down KEKEKEKEKEKEKEKE. Probably because he's probably one of the more fun names to say, but also because every time we happen to catch this TSS seed side on stream, he has been the one who has been popping off. This is a very aggressive jungler, likes to invade, likes to harass early, and likes to set an aggressive tempo. So not surprised to see, you know, a few bans thrown their way. Viego as well going to be taken off the board from our red side. Meanwhile, the response, again, a lot of sort of these bans from like characters that kind of been nerfed in the past. And well, there's that Aatrox you were talking about previously.
Yeah, so Goblin plays a lot of Aatrox. It's 90% of his match history lately, so not surprised to see him pick that up. 3 bans targeted at the jungler. I cannot hope to pronounce it as well as you do, but that's empowering as the person getting banned. As Sejuani and Ezreal get picked up here.
Wow, that's a bit of a statement 1-2 pick, though, and not necessarily for the right reasons. I kind of feel like MBBC, yeah, okay, I said it right. I kind of feel like these are two very defensive picks in a meta that doesn't necessarily play around it. Frequently, teams are rewarded by playing these faster, more aggressive junglers, and perhaps even these divey, more engaging bot lane carries. But Ezreal, known for his kiting abilities, Sejuani, more of a frontline tank, but can be poked, can be harassed, can be out-tempoed, and Trundle typically is a jungler that looks to do just that to you.
So, as you may know, Formal, I'm a big player of Trundle. However, not your standard Trundle. I am hoping to see crit Trundle this game and just watch him 3-shot the Ezreal.
I mean, you can hope all you like. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. In fact, I probably would advise against it, considering where this team comp is looking to be going. The Jinx does get locked in response to the Ezreal, sort of like, okay, you can play your kitey, flighty champ. I'm just going to make sure I have the ability to rocket down that front line, and if you do jump away, well, those rockets are going to take themselves to the back line with you. Katarina, a very different pick. All right, I am now very confused in the direction that this red side is going. Katarina, typically a diving assassin, doesn't really like to play those front to back team compositions. Yoshinator, though, does not care. They are playing for comfort today.
It could also be, now hear me out on this, Sejuani top. And just try and match up into the Aatrox and just farm and try and fight him. And then you flex it and you get potentially a counter matchup in the jungle, but that's hoping and maybe a little bit far stretch.
I think it's a very far stretch, actually, when you look at that, considering, where we might go. And you never know. I just don't really like Sejuani into Aatrox. I think that's a bad matchup for the Sejuani. I think you just get out-damaged, out-harassed way too early and are not able to do too much. Granted, I'm not too sure about that Katarina either, especially when you consider that it's a blind Katarina pick. To boot. It's going to be very risky for sure. Granted, because MBBC are picking out of order, I do have an idea that they could be you know, having a sort of team composition in mind, the Shen will get locked in. A bigger fan of this pickup, especially into that Aatrox, should be fine. It's all about now how TSS responds to the Katarina in mid.
Yeah, I'm not. Maybe they were scared it was going to get banned away in the second rotation, but blind picking an assassin that's very coin flip is very risky. Yes, she's got the 2 builds she can go with, the AP or the AD, but I feel like it was a little risky picking her that early.
I think you could also argue it was very risky, although the response is going to be that Vladimir, I almost would have liked to see the Morgana actually take a response, but Vlad still works as well. Sanguine Pool, sort of a great counter to any all-in that the Katarina might bring, and with that sustain, should be a very safe lane for chuchoter. I am a little bit shocked, though, that they went this direction, to be quite frank. I feel as if they could have been almost aggressive in return against the likes of MBBC. Instead, they're going to play passive in mid and probably look to be the aggressors in the bot and top. So a bit of a side lane focus, perhaps coming from this TSS side. Whereas when you look at MBBC, they take that Galio. That tells me they want to roam it mid. They're going to try and shut down, trying to accelerate Yoshinator as much as possible. The question is, how much can they accelerate against one of the safest mid laners in the game? It's going to be a tough challenge for our red side.
Yeah, so both teams right now have the same idea of we want to fight. We want to send everyone to one spot and just brawl. Katarina wants to get on the back line and try and flank. And with the Galio, Sejuani, Shen, maybe she gets a good angle to flank on. But again, going into Vladimir might be a bit harder to get the actual kill onto him, as well as Jinx standing miles away and just rocketing everyone to death.
And that's just it, too. Because of this Jinx lock-in for JawsThePups, I do feel as if TSS has the ability to sort of take down a front line, and Aatrox and Trundle should be able to do enough and stay alive long enough to withstand an Ezreal sort of attacking against them alone. A support Galio, Sejuani, and the Shen aren't necessarily going to be doing a lot of damage in that team fight. It's going to put so much pressure on NekkeL, on this Ezreal, or on Yoshinator to find that perfect flank, and if either of these two things don't necessarily work out, in a perfect world, Jaws should have the time and the sustainability to burst through that front line. And really, if you take a look at TSS front to bottom, they'll have the damage to get through that front line. I mean, you take a Jinx, you take a Vladimir as well, and that's just so much frontline burst. I do want to see this TSS side really look to take on MBBC in that front-to-back style, because I feel like they'll come out on top nearly every single time.
100%. As well as the Trundle stealing the tank stats from the Sejuani out in the Shen. They're not a tank anymore. They're just a body for Jinx to just shoot at. So the other issue I have with MBBC's comp, if either Katarina or Ezreal get behind, they're down to a 1-threat comp with not a whole lot to do. So going to be interesting to see how they combat that with either Sejuani hard ganking mid and bot early, or if NekkeL or Yoshinator can just outplay the lane and get a lead that way.
Yeah, it's going to be a challenge for MBBC, and typically what happens, though, I do have to admit, whenever I feel like one team composition has a heavy advantage, well, they usually come up short. So many times I have sat through a draft here in this league and been like, oh, wow, this team really drafted well, but then have just been unable to execute on their composition, whereas their opponents, who has played more for their individual comforts, find ways to get ahead in lane and then win games in that facet. So by all means, just because we might be favoring the draft of TSS, doesn't mean that this game has been won. In fact, MBBC, they can get Yoshinator ahead. If Katarina gets fed, all of a sudden, JawsThePups, it doesn't matter how much peel or survivability you might have. Katarina can delete you in a blink of an eye. And with JawsThePups gone, so too goes a majority of that back line and sustained damage in a team fight. Granted, KEKEKEKEKE and Goblin can do a fair bit, but they do need that extra from a dedicated damage dealer. The name of the game then, as for MBBC, find Jaws, delete Jaws, and it's going to be on Yoshinator to do it.
Yeah, if everyone's positioned perfectly, the only way Jaws dies is from a flank from Katarina. I don't see a world where he gets taunted by Shen or knocked up or hit with anything by Sejuani. So if he plays safe and just stays behind his front line, he should be fine, but we'll just have to wait and see where he stands.
Yeah, we'll see where he goes from here. That said, we are going to have to throw it to a spectator delay. It won't be a long one, though. And when we get back, it'll be our second and final game of the afternoon. So stay with us. More Queensland, I was about to say Rocket League, but no, it's more Queensland League of Legends when we return. Welcome back, everybody. It's our second match in this doubleheader. TSS taking on MBBC. And realistically, TSS, they're looking pretty good right now. I'm really impressed by this team composition. A very mature comp, a very reactionary comp to what their opponents are playing, but still has their own synergies that they could do a lot of damage to that front line. Picks like the Trundle, not something you typically see, but when you see 3 tanks, well, it's typically that good a way to go. In response, all the pressure on Yoshinator, needs to find those perfect flanks, needs to find ways to keep JawsThePups not involved in our future team fights, and all of that comes down to how you play the lanes, how you play around your early jungle pathing as we are on the Rift. Aaron, who do you think is going to make that first move?
So both teams go with a standard, just defensive start. I like to see the Dark Seal on Vladimir. That is a very aggressive start, looking to either just sustain with the extra potion healing or go all in, look for kills early, and just hope to roll the lane. I am hoping that by the choice of Smite by Trundle, he's going for more of a damage build rather than tank build, but we'll have to wait and see about that one. And Sejuani backed early for Oracles.
Yep, that's pretty typical to see, I feel, in these situations. But to go back to the Dark Seal comment on the Vladimir, it's not just that, but it's an Ignite as well. And I did bring up during the pick and bans, I was a bit concerned that the Vladimir pick would perhaps be a little bit too passive from what we wanted to see. It doesn't look like chuchoter sees Vladimir as that passive pick with the sort of itemization and the Ignite being taken to the mid lane. It does have me a little concerned. I feel Teleport obviously is the superior go, even on champions like Vladimir, because a perfect Vladimir flank, especially later in the game, if you can drop that Hemo Plague on as many targets as possible, you're really going to enable the damage that JawsThePups is going to put through with those rockets. Ignite does a lot of damage as well, though, particularly in lane, and if it's used as another tool to keep Yoshinator down, well, that's also going to benefit TSS in the long run.
Interested to see vertical jungling come in here. So, knowing where both junglers started, both just handshaking, giving up relative top and bot sides. So, maybe they go for an early bot gank here, or early top gank, but looks at the moment the Trundle's just, nope, gonna go for that gank mid.
Yeah, they're going to try and make the play mid instead. As Yoshinator did press forward, now getting pulled back by that pillar of filth. Yoshinator is going to be forced to burn a very early flash. Ignite was used by chuchoter, so the kill pressure might not be there. Still, Yoshinator is going to have to play this lane perfectly.
A little overzealous with the Ignite there. Don't think there's a world where they kill when he has flash and potentially the shampoo coming off cooldown, but I like the aggressiveness. And Sejuani didn't really get much for that other than the Scuttle Crab now.
Oh yeah, but do they get the Scuttle Grab? KEKEKEKE is sitting around with double buff, but no help coming from Goblin on the top side. Does mean that TSS is going to have to give it up. The pressure of the horizontal jungling coming out of codeinencommies does enough to sort of keep that top lane down. Code's going to be very happy with that. We see the Dark Binding miss NekkeL, and in that bot lane, this is where we're going to have to see TSS look to respond.
Yeah, TSS needs to try and find a pick onto the Ezreal or the Galio, just start snowballing the Jinx. I think Jinx right now is in a better spot than Ezreal is, and with the items the way they are, Jinx should put out more damage later than what Ezreal can, so the earlier she can get to those items, the better. Whereas Ezreal just kind of wants to scale right now and just get to that late point whenever he can.
Yeah, it should be a case of strong side for MBBC top compared to TSS playing on that strong side bot. And usually that would mean Dragon Control should favor the TSS side. However, with the pathing taken by Code in, they should be able to now farm that bot side and have it synergize quite nicely with our first Dragon coming in to spawn. That first Dragon, of course, going to be a Cloud Drake. So it's not necessarily the most prioritized Dragon in the world, but if MBBC can find a way to get it, wow, KEKEKEKEKE is on the opposite end of the map. You know they're going to take it. That's not the case now, however. Still, they might be making that move towards the bot side. Nonetheless, it does look as if Code is able to get behind, but does get spotted by the Trundle and has to retreat.
With the Cloud Drake, I feel like MBBC really want the Cloud Drake early. Yes, it's not necessarily the best dragon, but for their comp, I feel like they want this dragon more than necessarily TSS wants it, but TSS would be happy to take it away from them.
chuchoter going for a very risky trade right here. There are a lot of minions, but with that pool and with the backup damage of KEKEKEKEKE, that will be first blood going over to the blue side.
Yeah, bit over aggressive there by the Katarina. You're down in HP against the Vladimir. You're probably not going to out-damage him early, so maybe a bit over-aggressive by staying there and trying to fight, but that's 2 stacks right now on the Dark Seal.
Also, I'm sorry for having that cheeky little chuckle. I just watched Chicken Muncher throw the point-blank Dark Binding into a caster minion and steal the kill away, looking to connect onto NekkeL. That's what happens when you tunnel on a target, right? You don't really pay attention to your surroundings. You wind up stealing some CS. Your Dark Binding goes straight into a minion directly in front of you. I think every Morgana support has been there now. Dragon was secured by MBBC nearly on spawn, or at least 1 minute into it, so that does go their way. The flash is immediately stopped by the Dark Binding into the chompers. A great reactionary play coming out of TSS.
Galio tried to go for the hero play of flashing the Dark Binding and kind of just headbutted it.
And another Dark Binding is going to connect, this time onto NekkeL. That will force KEKEKEKEKE to go all in, but with the Black Shield, JawsThePups cares not for your taunts, but is not autoing. Jaws, you had 3 seconds there. You were able to throw down some autos. I think getting a little too eager, probably clicking a little bit too much, trying to capitalize on the play. It's okay. It happens. I'm still really liking how Chicken Muncher is playing this lane.
Chicken Muncher is being very aggressive and going for any binding. So the best way to play any skill shot lane, just throw out as many as you can. It doesn't matter about how many you miss, it's about the important ones that you land. And if you're not throwing them out and you're looking for the perfect one, you're never going to land it. So I like the fact of just throwing them out.
I've also been noticing how every time we see that black pool get used, NekkeL has been opting to arcane shift out as opposed to walking out of them at times, and that's something that I could see actually hurting this Ezreal player in the future. If you're able to take away that flash ability that quickly as Hemoplague gets dropped in mid lane, all right, that's ambitious. How to chuchoter. Ignite was used as well. That was very ambitious out of chuchoter.
I think he thought he had more damage than what he did. Yes, he got the Katarina low, but maybe if he had the empowered Q, maybe he kills, but a little early on the trigger there.
Yeah, very early on the trigger, and that actually could give up some Herald presence, perhaps, as the time does keep ticking away. Rift Herald spawning onto the Rift right about now, and it does look as if codeinencommies is in that area. I'm not sure if Code's going to make that play. Nope, it says it's going to look to rotate to the bot side of the map. This eventually could turn into a bot side gank as well. I know NekkeL and KEKEKEKEKE would love a little bit of lane pressure so they can go ahead and reset, as this Ezreal, well, has actually just reset, so that's the Shen available. Actually, more likely they're going to look for the kill, as you see right there, now starting to get aggressive.
Also, by Sejuani now coming to see blues up, they can make an assumption that Trundle's on the top side of the map. They can go for that gank and have it be a 3v2. On the downside, if they do show, then they give up the Herald.
Well, they might be giving up the Herald either way, as it does look as if KEKEKEKEKE is slowly making their way up there as well. And especially with the mid lane going so heavily in favor, I would say, at this stage of the game, in favor of TSS, it really is giving a lot of that river control over to our blue side jungler, who is going to use that possibility to look towards the top side. Do we see a disruption on the back? Comegoblin thinks about it, decides to go for the cannon instead, and that should be Herald in theory, especially if that, Scuttlebug gets taken down.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen Trundle go for it maybe before the Scuttle, just to make sure he gets it, but can't hurt to get the Scuttle, give more vision, give the potential escape route from the extra move speed. It is the tank Trundle, so I'm a little sad, but I understand that it's probably better.
Yeah, you have to understand these things sometimes, that playing it safe is the better choice. You can't go damage all the time. I know everyone wants to, but you just can't.
I will take my moment of silence for my hopes and dreams of seeing Crit Trundle.
I took a moment of silence just to make sure I don't sneeze over the microphone. Either way, Downtown Detroit is going to get jumped upon by Goblin right here. Eventually, we'll get pushed out of the lane. Well, at least out of the minion line. Downtown Detroit been doing a fairly decent job actually holding out against this Aatrox. We thought the Shen might have a little bit of advantage in that early game. Well, it's starting to carry over later as well. With that Brown Fest, there hasn't been much that Goblin's been able to do.
Yeah, stopping his early sustain is a big part of beating Aatrox in lane. So seeing him go for the early Grievous wounds, not a shock, and really helps out his laning.
Yep, as now Shen's going to be starting to push it in. I'm a little bit surprised, actually, to see, looking at the map right now, KEKEKEKE still on that top side of the map, especially with the Dragon spawning in the near future and with very little camps on that top side. Unless you're making a play, now is your time either to reset or to force an issue. Instead, just kind of walking up and down the river, perhaps thinking there might be something happening more towards that top side. Instead of taking their time, actually going to look to farm, as they might not be needed on the bot side. That's a lot of damage just put down onto NekkeL. That could be Dragon priority lost to an extent. Still more bodies for the red team, though, around that Dragon pit, as I imagine they're going to make a move soon.
Yeah, there was a lot of indecision there. He was looking for the Katarina, but Vladimir wasn't there. Didn't think he had enough damage, so he can't go there. Then looks top. Oh, the waves push, can't really go there. But Sejuani might be there. So he just kind of flooded between, not really doing anything and losing a lot of time.
Yeah, that is a lot of time and a lot of gold missed out on, especially considering KEKEKEKE is currently sitting on near 1,500 gold in pocket. If you want to contest for that dragon fight, you're going to want to spend that gold first, and it looks like their plan is going to be shove in that wave mid reset and try and rush to the dragon. Yet, that might open a window, so they'll rely on Herald to provide the pressure instead, as Trundle does head down. But again, remember, this is a Trundle at a significant gold disadvantage. If he gets jumped upon, he might be able to go down. The chain CC is there. The follow-up damage from NekkeL is not enough as the Hemoblade gets to the back line, and NekkeL should pop and go down. It is a trade 1-for-1 as codeinencommies is down as well. Sorry, that's a 2-for-none. And things are getting worse before they get better. Finally, the bot lane of TSS do arrive, and they're going to look to clean up this fight. KEKEKEKE will be the next to go down as the rocket follows the flashing Galio over the wall, and Dragon does get secured, I should say, by the TSS side.
Yeah, that fight was a little messy at parts. Jinx just standing there trying to kite back and forth while just running back and forth because she's got the wrong gun equipped, but they had the right idea of engaging on the Trundle, just missing with the Sejuani, or not a whole lot of they can do with follow-up CC, so kind of just went downhill from there.
Yeah, they needed to burst KEKEKEKE out as fast as possible, and even possibly look to retreat after that stage with the numbers advantage, knowing that you took out the jungler, you should have that dragon control. However, by, taking down the Trundle a little bit too slowly and then failing to actually realistically take him down at all, they really gave up the earnest in that fight. And by the time JawsThePups was able to roam up, we really saw the damage that this front-to-back team composition can put out. Jaws still sitting on 1 kill. However, what surprised me the most in that fight was the Hemoblade used by chuchoter very aggressively as soon as NekkeL made himself known. Taking the Ezreal out of the fight kind of brought forward the glaring weakness of the sort of only two damage sources, and even one of them is a flanking assassin. The damage just was not there for MBBC. Yeah,
so Vladimir had a great, the moment he sees Ezreal in any fight from here on out, he's going to drop the Hemo Plague on him and just force him out of the fight and turn it into a 1 damage threat fight with only the Katarina there. And right now, Katarina's not a threat with how far behind she is in terms of items compared to the Vladimir. So it's going to be hard, but as long as they farm up like we saw last game, wait, pick your moments, pick your smart fights, and not just fight because you need to, maybe they can come back and get back that 2k gold lead.
I mean, they're going to have to try another Dark Binding hit, and you can see that follow-up damage is there. And NekkeL already down to half health before any sort of semblance of a sort of counter trade can be put into motion. This bot lane proving to be so difficult, and this game proving to be so difficult. Another Dark Binding. All of a sudden, NekkeL's quite low, and you have that Super Mega Death Rocket. The teleport gets drawn out just from the poke alone coming out of the TSS bot lane.
There was a lot of miscommunication there. You see Galio use Justice Punch to get away as the TP comes through, so maybe someone's yelling go in, someone's yelling go out, and just committing on a half call, and now they're down to TP for the next fight.
Yeah, and they're also going to be down a top lane tower as well, as immediately KEKEKEKE started roaming up there. That taunt's not going to hit anyone. Okay, well, maybe it will if you step forward at the last chance. But by stepping forward, you're in danger of this happening. JawsThePup looking for the double. Well, only got one as the first one was stolen away. Either way, great play from this TSS bot lane as they are taking over the bot side while the rest of the team does work up top. TSS starting to take this game over.
And this is kind of what we expected to see early, which was the Jinx Morgana take over the lane, get early kills, get early pressure. So, yes, Galio was potentially out of position there, but Arcane shifting into Morgana.
Oh no, chuchoter wins the 1v1 before Code can even get involved. The Hemoblade doing so much work, and the Ignite does pay dividends in the end. This is turning into a major disaster right now for MBBC because they needed their carries, NekkeL and Yoshinator, to get ahead. They're each behind. They're losing just in straight up lane battles as the jungler is topside shoving. MBBC, they need to find ways to turn this game around sooner than later.
Yeah, things aren't going great for them right now, and oh no, that's just bullying.
It is, and I love it. Oh, look, at this stage, this is TSS starting to do what I wanted to see actually get done in our last game. Is once you have that lead, start to look to push it, take advantage, play around your leads, and we're starting to see major neutral objective control. We're starting to see major lane control as Yoshinator goes right back into chuchoter and immediately regrets it. They can't recall now. They only just got back to lane, but if you stay in lane, you're going to die again. The flash forward. chuchoter has now laid claim to this mid lane. It belongs to TSS.
That was a beautiful play by the Vladimir there. Charging up the E and then flash empowered Q just to destroy the Katarina there. Katarina can't stand up in the lane and be as aggressive as she wants to be. And every time she tries to, she's just getting punished.
This is a game that I feel like it's going to get worse, unfortunately, for MBBC before it gets better, as KEKEKEKEKEKE has the escape cut off. The zap hits NekkeL as KEKEKEKEKEKE flashes away. NekkeL, though, won't get punished for that. Oh, thank you, support. I always love it when that happens.
I don't blame Crankler at all there for flashing away. Every man for himself at that point. Just get out.
Well, I mean, want to go every man for himself. Yoshinator! That's the burst we wanted to see. Does get rid of Chicken Muncher, although it does come at the cost of their life. And with Herald going down before the tower falls, not much more TSS can do except for limp away.
The other thing here, if TSS recall, this is a free dragon for MBBC.
Well, they're not recalling. They're teleporting in. They're getting ready for a fight, because guess what? Those ultimates are available. You've got that Hemoplague from chuchoter, who might not have a lot of health, but you know has that sustain, and will be looking for that fight. In fact, it's a fight that MBBC, they don't want any part of. They're actually going to retreat and give away that second dragon for free.
That was smart. If they go in, then they risk losing more than just the dragon. They risk losing bot tower, more pressure on mid, so it was smart of them just to give up the dragon. It's not soul point, it's not the dragon leading up to soul point, so just take the L there, wait for the next fight, wait for the next dragon, and go from there.
We will see where they go from there, and it looks to be towards the top side where two members might be getting cut out. That is 3 people charging at now a glacial prison, KEKEKEKEKE, but he's still going to try to walk out of this one. It's a flash. Well, not a flash, it's a shumpo forward, and still somehow this Trundle gets out alive. Now comes that re-engage as the Hemoplague gets 2 targets. Didn't quite hit Crankler, but Yoshinator is the proper one. Mega Death Rocket does get body blocked, but the Goblin is on the flank, and the Katarina will go down. It might be a 1-for-1, but it might be more because the sustain on this Aatrox is too much to handle. The heroic entrance used point blank does turn a kill around, but it does go be another 1-for-1, and that leads to a 3-for-1 as chuchoter gets the triple. Is gonna look for that quadra code, trying to run for his life, but guess what? Quadra kill secured by chuchoter as TSS continue to extend their lead.
That fight started so well for them, and then the moment that the Trundle gets away on low health, you need to just give up and run back. They try and commit a bit more and just get pounced on by the Vladimir, and everyone else is there. And this Vladimir is huge right now. 25 stack Medjais. 902. He is a monster right now.
Yeah, I mean, look at him. He doesn't care. He's just sitting under tower, autoing. He can destroy it if he wants, but no, he'd rather walk off for now. Maybe not take a couple more shots if it is unnecessary. Should be able to take down that tower with the next wave reset, and then look to possibly spend some of that gold sitting on 1600 at the moment. So as strong as this Vlad is, it's only going to get stronger moving forward. Fortunately for MBBC, we were a little bit afraid that their team composition wouldn't be able to handle what TSS has by dropping those lanes, and then by walking into death bushes, this game just gets harder and harder.
Yeah, they need to try and get vision, but right now, no one has a fast light orb. No one's looking to get that extra vision, and right now they're relying on Ezreal, who currently has 3 vision score, and trying to ward and get vision so you don't just walk into death bushes constantly is hard to do without those extra wards.
Goblin is going to get jumped on by 3 members. I feel like we've just seen this before, although last time it was on Goblin, though has even a moral lifesteal, especially with that World Ender getting popped in. When you can't take down 1 member with all of those ultimates used, well, it was only 1, but still it was a pretty big one out of code right there. It is a very worrying sign.
Yeah, everyone right now, everyone on the side of TSS is too tanky, and no one on the side of MBBC does damage enough to make it a problem, as a 21-minute Baron comes through here. And I don't think they can contest.
No, I don't think they can test either, although DowntownDetroit might say something crazy. You're going to opt against that, more than likely the smarter choice. In these situations, it's a 10k gold lead, Aaron, and typically I say that is when a game should implement the no mercy rule. That is when you should look to end no matter the situation. And I expect we're going to be seeing just that very, very soon. The Baron buff has been secured, and I do expect in the very near future TSS is going to look to crack open that base.
This game has been relatively clean by the side of TSS. They haven't made any over-glaring mistakes, and they've been really punishing on when their opponents make mistakes. So this is a really nice game to see by them. On the other side, not the cleanest game by MBBC. Yoshinator being over-aggressive at times. NekkeL, Arcane shifting into fights. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any sort of hope at a comeback coming into the end of this game.
I mean, they're going to try to find a way. I can almost guarantee you that. Perhaps it comes in this bot lane right now as DowntownDetroit doing what he can to sort of stop that push out of the Goblin. However, back in mid and top lane, I mean, this 1-3-1 really working super effectively right now for TSS. They have pressure all over the map, and now you're able to rotate. Now you're able to create plays. DowntownDetroit at half health has to be so careful. The zap will be sidestepped, but KEKEKEKE is already on that backline flank. That's going to be a pick. That's going to be a numbers advantage now in favor of TSS, and they're going to use that to siege that bot side of the red base.
Yeah, they don't have enough damage to force the engage on the side of MBBC. Yes, it's a 1-3-1, and if you send members mid, you can hope to go in. But even if you lock people down, you don't deal enough damage, and with the Black Shield, you can't CC the Jinx. So I don't think there's much they can do in that fight there.
That said, I'm not sure about the decision to pull everyone for this dragon. Realistically, you can only just pull KEKEKEKE, and you should be able to get it just fine and keep that pressure, keep your opponents down. I mean, at this stage, you could be chipping away at those towers. You have that Baron buff for only so long, as they are going to be looking to reset after that dragon. Chuchoter has been sitting in top lane kind of on their own for a very long time. I wouldn't be surprised to see MBBC look to make a play right now.
The only issue if they try and go in on him is if he gets a big hemo plague, he could potentially 1v4 them. He's got 2 items and 3 items in his boots. One of those being a 25 stack Magi's. I think he's got enough damage and sustain.
I'm sorry, Chicken Muncher. You know what? I didn't mean to catch that one on stream, but we all saw it there. Look, I disagree with you on one thing about that 1v4. It would have to be a 1v5 because the Sand United would come through, and I fully believe that Chuchoter would be able to do that as well.
Yeah, you're right. They are starting to build Grievous Wounds on 3 members now. But I feel like it's a little too late for the Katarina to start building it now. I would have liked to have seen the Oblivion Orb early. Yes, it puts off your Lich Bane, but you need it to survive the lane.
Yeah, it would have been a very handy itemization choice. Baron buff has wound down, and realistically, what they got out of that was all of the tier 1 and 2 towers. They were able to secure themselves another dragon as well, but they weren't able to crack open the base. What will crack open the base? Probably that 12k gold lead that they were able to just reset, spend, itemize more correctly. Look how much ability power Chuchoter has. Like, this Vladimir is absolutely terrifying. Not to mention the fact we're almost at a 3-item Jinx as well. Very far away from matching this amount of damage is the side of MBBC and their 2 carries. Dark Binding just misses Code, but that's okay. Jaws from over the wall is going to continue to zone out any chance of a re-engage. I feel it's a matter of time before someone overextends and forces a fight. Perhaps it's Code, but more likely it might come from someone else, as in comes Yoshinator trying to burst down Chicken Muncher. The counter engage will come through. However, the support's already gone, and the Glacial Tomb does hit 1, but now comes that re-engage. Here comes the flank, a 2! It's only a 1-man Hemoflake. It could have gotten all 4, but I don't think it matters that much because Jaws is just shooting rockets right into that front line. The quadra kill. Do we see the penta? NekkeL runs for his life, looks to escape. It doesn't matter not. That's going to be game. Inhibitors will fall, and the Nexus will be next.
Now, there's still the chance for the penta.
Oh, NekkeL, give it to him, but make him earn it. You want to see him get them the chance to earn it. You know chuchoter stalking. You know he wants to see that pentakill. Goblin as well tries to find the CC, but NekkeL playing safe enough to not give it over for free. Has 5 seconds to get it. Won't be able to find it. What they do find is a match victory. What they do find is a ticket to the playoffs. TSS secure their spot in our, top 16.
That was an extremely clean game there. Vladimir, in the end, went for the Rabadons and was just looking to one-shot the entire team in one fight. Almost did it there, but maybe a slight off-put with the Hemoplague, but still a very clean game there by TSS.
How can you call it a clean game when Chicken Muncher missed a point-blank Scuttle Crab? It was not clean, but you know what? It was clean enough. I kid, of course. I mean, look, I've done a lot worse. I'm just going to say that right now. It's just unfortunate that the stream caught that. However, for the most part, Chicken Muncher actually very, very strong in lane. Those Dark Bindings hitting again and again, and often onto NekkeL as well, onto an Ezreal, which is hard to hit. Overall, really every single lane just seemed so much stronger on the TSS side. They played their comp super well. That Vladimir was massive, but I'm going to give actually a little bit more credit to the jungler. KEKEKEKEKE on this Trundle, 0-0-13. That is a perfect jungle score, in my opinion.
That is a great tank score as well. He's not going for one of those, like, assassins where you need kills. So going deathless and killless and just enabling your team to do well, the ideal world for a tank.
Yeah, I you know what? It's inspired me, Aaron. Between you telling me how great Trundle is and between watching KEKEKEKEKE, I think we're going to be seeing more jungle Trundle in my future. That is for sure. But what's going to be for the future of this league? Well, I'm guessing we're going to be going ahead and hosting what's happening over on the meta stream to see how those other states are going. As for Queensland itself, well, guess what? We're going to be back at the same time next week for more matches as teams continue to try to qualify for the playoffs. I have been Formal. Joining me has been Aaron, making his casting debut here. And behind the scenes, as always, the ever-handsome Smash Brothers World Podcast Champion, the Jet. Check him out on, on the Twitters if you can find him. He likes to keep it hidden and mysterious, but trust me, it's out there. And if you like Smash, throw him that follow. But until then, have a great afternoon, everybody.